Hello, dear students. I'm Pavlo Brin, and today I'm going to present you the main key points of management. It will be like the general review of the management as a science. So I'm sharing my presentation, and let's begin. Okay, great. So generally, let's begin with the definition of management. Uh, this is easy to define management through the function of management. So management is the process of planning, organizing, motivating, and controlling. And generally, it is a natural way of doing anything. First of all, we have to plan our activity. We have to create some plan, and in business we call this plan as a strategy. Then we have to define some tasks to be done to attain all the objectives within the plan. This is organizing function. In simple words, we have to say as a manager, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Then we have to provide an incentive for everybody, usually certainly positive incentive, and then we have to check the results of our activity. It is the function of controlling. So the most important definition of management is the first one, but also you can use the same idea, but provided by a little bit different words. Management is a process by means of which the purpose and objectives of a particular human group are determined, clarified, and effectuated. So generally it is the same, but maybe with a little bit more explanation. As far as we defined the main functions of management as planning, organizing, motivating, and controlling, we can say that a manager is a person who implements these four functions. Generally, the managers implement the functions at the following levels. So in a big organization, you can find a top management level. It is the level of the chief supervisor of organization. If speaking, for example, about our university, our rector is the part of top management. Then we have middle management. Usually it is the deputy directors on some directions. For example, deputy director on marketing, deputy director on finance. In our university, we have deans or directors of institutes and a lower level of management. At this level, managers are communicating with people who are not managers. So in organization, in company, it could be the superiors of departments, and the same to our university. We have more than 100 departments, and every department has its manager, the head of the department, and these heads of the department are the parts of lower level of management. During the first part of my review, I'd like to discuss with you the main milestones in management. The first man who defined management was Frederick Winslow Taylor. He was the first to publish a book in the field of management, Principles of Scientific Management. He published this book in 1911. Also, now we call him as a founder of a scientific management school. He made a lot of contributions in the field of management. He paid a lot of attention for defining the best way of providing some activity by worker. Also, he provided the fair payment, how to define the methods, how to define fair payment for fair salary for jobs. But the most contribution and why we call Frederick Winslow Taylor as the father of management, it's because he was the first to separate managerial work from non-managerial work, because before him people didn't realize that there are some pieces of activity, and the result of the activity, the process of the activity, is managing other people. And he was the first to define it. The second step of management was connected with these very men. Henri Fayol, but he was the French by Henri. He defined functions of management, and he defined principles of management, main principles of management. Actually, he defined functions of management in a little bit other way, as we know, but mostly we can say that his vision was the same to the contemporary vision at management. And generally, the main contribution of, and why we can say that it is the next step of management, it's because he tried to increase efficiency, not only non-managerial stuff, but also managerial stuff. So he worked for managers, how to perform managerial work with higher effectiveness. The next level, the next milestone, of management was connected with human relations and behavioral science school. And generally, it was the efforts to use psychology in management, because before this time, persons interested in psychology were rather interested in management. That's why nobody tried to use some methods of psychology in management. And the first who successfully tried to use psychology in management was this very man, Elton Mayo. He was invited to solve very interesting problem in one company, in textile company, in department, labor turnover was about 250%. You know, usually it is normal that labor turnover is a little bit higher than 0, because somebody maybe decides to find his or her destiny in other company or in other city. Somebody can die. Is speaking about a lady can become pregnant. That's why it will be some pause in her career. So it's not equal to 0 usually. It is some, and it's completely normal. Then it is about 5%. But if it is 250%, it means that we have to invite more and more subordinates. And we have to spend a lot of money to prepare them for working at our company. And what was really strange that in this company financial incentive didn't work. It means that managers provided bigger salary, some extra rewards, but nobody wanted to work at this department. And Elton Mayor discovered that it was very noisy situation, and it was no possibility to communicate. He provided to organize 2 10-minute rest, and after providing these two periods of rest, two breaks, the turnover dropped and became as an average of the company. So it was the first evidence of using psychology in management. It means that it is connected with the fact that we all, people, we are social animals. We want to communicate, and to work without communicating, even with a bigger salary, is not good for us. These three steps, during these 3 steps, it was formed three main approaches to management. The first approach is the process approach. It means that a manager should use 4 main functions of management as planning, organizing, motivating, and controlling. And it will, at this very picture, you can see the managerial cycle. Why it is a cycle? It means that it's not like this, that a manager plan something, organize something, motivate the subordinates, and check the activity, and that's all. No, he has to use the cycle again and again. Why? Because, for example, during planning, we have to change our strategy because of some changes in external environment. For example, nobody knew 4 months ago that now we would have this awful situation in the Ukraine. And maybe we have to change something in our organizational structure. Maybe we have to change in our motivating. Maybe we have changed some rewards. We can add some rewards. And after checking the results, we have to change our strategy, even if we attained all the objectives. Why? Because external environment is changing every minute, every second, every moment. So the main idea of process approaches, a manager should use four main functions of management: planning, organizing, motivating, and controlling, and there is a managerial cycle. So he or she has to use these functions again and again. The second approach to management is system approach. System approach says that all organizations are open systems because we need some inputs. It means that we need some raw materials to produce some goods or services, and we need somebody to buy our products or services. So anyway, any organization is an open system, and that is why we have to pay a lot of attention not only about analyzing what is within the organization, but also we have to pay even more attention for analyzing external environment of our company. And the third approach, contingency approach, says that there is no best way to do something. Everything depends on situation. And I decided to put to these pictures, why? Just to show that to use a car on roads and to use a boat when you try to cross the sea is a good idea, but to change these two ideas is wrong. So the main idea of contingency approach is that a manager should know all the methods, all the techniques of management, and the manager should take the best method, the best model, but for these various situations after analyzing these situations. In this picture, you can see the main methods of management. The main methods of management are administrative, economic, and psychological, social and psychological. So we can provide some orders or etc. We have to use some rewards and etc. Or we can use some psychological methods, etc. And in our review, we will speak about all the methods a little bit later when speaking about power. But before speaking about functions of management, I'd like to present you the second module of our lecture, the internal and external environment of the organization. Historically, managers paid more attention to internal environment because it's easier to analyze what you see in your organization. But a little bit later, managers realized that without analyzing the external environment, it is not possible to craft a winning strategy for a company. And we will take the same order. Firstly, we will analyze the internal environment, and then not analyze, but we will define the main variables of internal environment, and then we will speak about external environment of the company. Let's begin with the internal environment. Internal environment or internal variables are the situational factors within the organization. And according to books in the field of management, the main variables, the major variables within the organization that management must take into account are the following: objectives, structure, tasks, technology, and people or staff. Objectives. According to the definition, an organization is a group of people with conscious common objectives. And objectives are the specific states or desired results of the group of people that group wishes to attain by working together. So it is like a target. It is like a target for our company, or from this definition, you can see that we are speaking not about the organization generally, but the objectives can be defined for some smaller part within the organization. It could be, for example, it could be a target for department or even for some person. Structure. The structure is organization of the organization is the logical relationship of management level and functional areas, arranged in such way as to permit the effective attainment of objectives. So, in simpler words, we can say that structure is the combination, the mixture of vertical and horizontal division of labor. The structure is a result of the organizing function, and we will speak about types of structures a little bit later when we speak about the organizing as a function of management. Tasks. You have to divide in your conscious tasks from objectives. Task is a piece of some job which must be done to attain the objective. So first, the manager has to define an objective, some target, some result, and then he has to define some pieces of activity that must be performed to attain this objective. And these small or big activities, or it could be chains of activities, named as tasks. So here I'm sorry, I have to check. Okay. It was something wrong, I'm sorry. So at this very picture, you can see this target is an objective, and to attain this objective, these small tasks must be done. Technology. Technology is the next internal variable, and when speaking about technology, we are speaking about it as about the way of transforming raw materials into desirable goods and services. And any technology includes the combination of skills, equipment, facilities, tools, and relevant technical knowledge. And there are a lot of classifications of technology, but the two main were provided by Woodward, by John Woodward. She divided all the technologies into small batch or unit production into, for example, if we are producing a space shuttle, it is the small batch or unit production. Large batch production, if speaking about, I don't know, okay, this very pencil, it is the result of large batch or mass production. And continuous or process production used when the process of production cannot be stopped, as it is producing, for example, of electricity or something like that. And the second classification of technologies was provided by Thomson. He divided all technologies into long-limbed technologies. It is like a technology as a combination of some steps to be done to have results. The second type of technology, according to Thomson, is mediating technologies, and it is when we have to connect, for example, two companies. And the third type of technology is intensive technology. It is the situation when we are using the special equipment, the special technique, for example, prepare the process of preparing these very presentation for you is the example of intensive technology according to Thomson. And the last but not least, people, it's last normal characteristics. When you are analyzing the company as a manager, you have to understand that all your people are not robots. All people within your organization are different, and they have different values, different needs, different perceptions and expectations, different abilities and aptitudes. And why you have to understand it, for example, just because if somebody doesn't have some ability, it is very I wanted to say very difficult, but generally it's not possible to delegate some activity to him or to her, but you can train him or her. For example, needs. You can provide some reward, but this reward is not valuable for this person. For example, you can provide some promotion for the person, but this person has a small child, and it is better for this man or lady to have more free time and bigger salary to spend this money on the child. So you have to understand as a manager that we all are different. Okay, we finished with internal environment, and our next topic is external environment of organization. Managers, I told you that at the beginning of management, managers paid little attention to factors outside organization. Why it was so? Because first of all, it was a simpler situation for managers because it was the situation, it was market of the producer. What does it mean, the market of producer? It means that it was deficit and the main idea was just to produce some product and this product will be sold anyway. And nowadays you realize that now is the market of client, market of buyer. It means that it is no deficit on market, and we have to analyze external environment. The most important of the external environment, we have to analyze the needs of our clients to satisfy it in the best way. And if we satisfy the needs of our clients in the best way, we will we will win the 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 profit, I would say. Okay, just a moment. Okay, and the main factors of external environment are divided into two groups, into direct action environment and into indirect environment. Direct action environment are the factors which has the biggest influence on an organization. There are customers, competitors, laws and governmental agencies, and labor unions, and certainly suppliers. And if speaking about indirect environment, there are the following factors: economic conditions, socio-cultural factors, political factors, technology, and international events. And during the third part of our review, I'd like to discuss with you functions of management. Planning, organizing, motivating, and controlling. Let's begin with planning or strategic planning. Strategic planning is the set of actions and decisions made by management that lead to development of specific strategies designed to help the organization to achieve its objectives. In simple words, during planning, we are defining what is to be done to, first of all, we attaining our objectives, and then we are defining what is to be done to what is to be done to attain it. Generally, you can see here that the word strategies in plural, not in singular. Because, first of all, we will define what is strategy. Strategy is a detailed plan designed to assure that the mission and objectives of the organization are met. But the strategies can be provided for 4 levels of the company. Operational strategy, it is a strategy for some department, for some small part of the company. Functional strategy, it is a strategy of some functional sphere. For example, strategy for finance, for human relations. Then strategy for business level, business strategy. It is a strategy for it is a strategy for strategical business units. It means that if a company is single business company, the company has only 3 levels of strategy: business strategy, functional strategy, and operational strategy. And if the company is a diversified company, if the company has the different strategical business units, it will have the corporate strategy as an umbrella to combine all strategical business units together. Because as far as, for example, if speaking about some diversified company, for example, if speaking about Procter & Gamble, the strategical business units are two different, some hygiene products, some products for children, for women, for teeth, but maybe you know that trademarks Gillette, trademarks Duracell are also the parts of the company, and the potato chips Pringles are also the parts of strategical business unit of Procter & Gamble company. And these companies must be, these strategical business units must be connected somehow, because it is one budget, it is one set of shareholders. Maybe we can use the synergy effect, and all these issues are described at the level of corporate strategy. So if the company is diversified, it has 4 levels: corporate, business, functional, and operational strategy. And if a company is not diversified or single business company, it has business, functional, and operational strategy. And the most important level of strategy is the second, is the business level of strategies. And there are a lot of classifications of strategies, but this is the main classification. We can try to use, first of all, the strategy must be based at the competitive advantage. It means that we have to understand that our product is better compared with products of our rivals, somehow better. And this is better. It could be just 2 ways to have this better: to sell our products cheaper, it will be cost leadership, or try to say that our product has a better quality or the better characteristics. It can be connected not only with quality, but with some other issues, for example, with additional warranty or something like that. So it could be cost leadership or differentiation strategy when we are trying to add some characteristics to the product. And when we are thinking about our market, we can use all potential customers at the market, or we can use just a niche, just a small piece of a market. That's why it will be focused leadership and focused differentiation. The first, the main part of the strategy is a mission statement. The mission statement is the general purpose of the organization, and the objectives are formulated to attain this mission. And in the center of mission statement is the need of our customers to be satisfied in the best way. If you understand it, it is okay. If you do not understand, if you cannot answer to the question, who is your customer, you cannot create mission, and generally you cannot create the strategy for your company. The next main part of the strategies is the set of objectives. We spoke that the objective is some result, but when formulating these very results, you have to keep in mind that the main characteristics of the results are the following. This result must be specific, so everybody in your organization must understand this objective. The objective must be measurable. It must have some figures, some key performance indicator inbuilt. And this key performance indicator must be measurable. What does it mean? It is possible to say that our objective is to increase our profit in 2 times, for example, because we can calculate money, but it's not possible to say that our objective is to increase the motivation of our staff in 10%. How we can calculate the motivation of our subordinates? You have to use key performance indicator for every objective. Every objective must be achievable, because if the objective is not achievable, it's not possible to use it as the target for your subordinate, because if your subordinates feel that it is even theoretically impossible to achieve it, nobody will work. It must be connected with mission and with strategy. It must be relevant, and it must have a deadline. It must be time bound. It means that if you say just, okay, our objective is to increase our profit in 10%, your subordinates can say, okay, we thought that it is the objectives for 10 years, and when saying, you kept in mind that this is objective for these very months, for example. And according to the first letters, you can see this abbreviation, SMART. Any objective must be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This is the SMART rule for objectives. And you have to understand that a strategy must be based at the result of analysis of internal and external environment. We have to understand what we have within our company, and we are dividing internal factors into helpful and into harmful, and we have strengths and weaknesses. So it is what we have. And why we have to understand external environment, because we have to understand our rivals and our clients. We have to understand actually more factors, but the most important factors of external environment are our rivals, our clients, and in some cases our suppliers. And also we are dividing these factors into helpful and into harmful, and we have opportunities and threats. And then we are building this very matrix. This matrix we call as SWOT analysis. So with the help of this matrix, we are creating strategy of our organization. And you know that any organization has a lot of pluses and minuses within it and in the external environment. But here we have to take the main ones for SWOT analysis. And just to keep in mind that we have to, when we are analyzing the competition in our industry, it is easy to use this model, Porter 5 forces model. Michael Porter provided this model to explain the level of competition, and the idea was that we have to analyze not only producers of the same products, but we also have to analyze the companies which want to enter our industry. Also, we have to analyze the substitute products. We have to analyze power of buyers and power of our suppliers. And if we have a lot of competitors, it is possible to analyze competitors if we have 1, 2, maybe 10 competitors. But if we have a lot of competitors, we have to combine them into some groups, and we call it a strategic group. A strategic group consists of those rivals which have similar competitive approaches and positions in the market. And here is the example of strategic group mapping. The second function of management is organizing. Organizing is the process of creating a structure for the organization, but before speaking about structures, I'd like to speak with you about the main terms within organizing. First of all, when we are using this function, we are using vertical and horizontal division of labor. Vertical division of labor is division of labor by levels of management, and horizontal division of labor is the division of labor by functions. Sorry, and using this information in management, we have two types of groups. All the groups could be within the organization could be common group. The common group consists of superior or supervisor and his or her subordinates, and work, or in some books you can find the same term, but task group consists of subordinates working together to attain some objectives. You are using organizing function through delegation. Delegation is the assigning of task and authority to recipient who assumes responsibility for them. So if you are saying you have to do this and you can use this source for your activity, you are using delegating. And the manager has to keep in mind that if a task is not delegated, he or she will have to perform it personally. The second term, very important term in organizing, is responsibility. Responsibility is an obligation to perform the task and to account for its satisfactory completion. It means, so then you said as a manager, you have to do it, you use delegation, and when your subordinate says, okay, I will do it, he took the responsibility for this task. But you have to keep in mind that responsibility cannot be delegated. What does it mean? It means that if the manager delegated some task, he or she is still responsible for completion of this very task. Yes, the subordinate will be also responsible for this task, but the manager at high level will ask, if something wrong, will ask not this worker, but will ask the manager who delegated this very task. And generally, that's why managers are so highly paid, because managers are responsible for everything in the company, especially at top management level. And the next term is authority. Authority is the limited right to use the organizational resources and channels to perform some task. If you delegate some task to print some document for you, some contract, for example, you have to understand that your secretary must be supported with a printer, for example, or we must be supported with some possibility to use the equipment of another department, for example. And as I told you, the result of organizational of the organizing function is the organizational structure. There are a lot of types of the organizational structure, but the main types are functional structure. Then we divide obligations according to functions. Here you can see marketing, sales, service, it could be finance, it could be production, and etc. Divisional market, it could be based, for example, it could be based to according to products, so it could be product A, product B, product C, and matrix structure when we have some projects and we have some functions, functional superiors. And this is the only structure when every subordinate has at least two superiors. Every subordinate has a line superior according to, for example, for some function, and he or she also has a supervisor from the project. So this is a little bit more difficult to use this structure, but the structure in some cases is more effective, matrix structure. The third function of management is motivating. Motivating is generally the process of moving oneself and others to work together, to work towards attainment of individual and organizational objectives. I decided to use this picture because, you as a manager has to provide the appropriate carrot, the appropriate reward for everybody in your organization, and if you do so, your organization will be successful. Let's speak about a lot of motivating theories. Generally, I'd like to speak with you during this short review about five main theories of motivation. But before speaking about these theories, I'd like to discuss the facts which are similar for all the theories. The first category, the first term, which is similar for all the theories of motivation are primary and secondary needs. So generally, needs is the deficiency of something, and this deficiency could be physiological or psychological. And according to these, we can divide needs into primary and into secondary needs. Primary needs are physiological in nature, and generally they are inborn. And then a baby is born when he or she is hungry, he's crying. He doesn't know what is hunger, but he's crying, and this is inborn. He understands this deficiency, and examples of primary needs: the food, water, sleep, and etc. And the secondary needs are psychological in nature, and generally people learn it through our experience. What does it mean? It means, for example, that I spent, or somebody spent his summer in a village, and then he got the information. He got the information that it is a good resort in Croatia, and then he wants to visit this very resort. And then maybe next year he will speak with his peer, and she provide him the information that she visited Thailand and it was great, and then this man would want to visit another country. So, but everything is connected with the experience. And the second term, which is the basic of any theory of motivating, is a reward. Generally, reward is anything valuable for the person. Anything valuable, and the rewards can be divided into intrinsic and extrinsic reward. Intrinsic reward is obtained through the work itself, and extrinsic reward is provided for the completion of some task. And I'm coming back, and at this picture you can see the possibility of motivating with intrinsic and extrinsic reward. This boy in yellow t-shirt, he playing football, keeping in mind that if he wins, he will get some prize. And this boy in white t-shirt, yes, he also wants to win, but he is like the process of playing, and this is more important for him. A manager, the main idea that a manager should use not only extrinsic rewards, but also intrinsic rewards. It means that if you as a manager provide some interesting task for this very person, it means that you are providing the intrinsic reward for him, for her. And during this short review, we will speak about two types of theories. We will speak about content theories of motivating, and we will discuss process theories of motivating. And when speaking about content, what is the main difference between content and process theories? Content theories, and we will speak about Maslow's hierarchy, we will discuss McLaren hierarchy, we will discuss Herzberg two-factor theory. So the main idea is that we have to provide the best reward for the need of our subordinate. And the process theories of motivating, we will speak about two main theories, about equity theory and expectancy theory. These theories, the idea of these theories is that we have to think not only the needs to be satisfied through the provided rewards, but also we have to keep in mind something else. So we can say that process theories include content theories. So these theories are concentrated only on needs and the rewards to satisfy the needs, and process theory of motivating concentrate, they agree that okay, we have to analyze needs, but we have to analyze some other factors. What the factors must be analyzed according to every theory, we will discuss it in a few minutes. The first theory of motivating is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow created this pyramid. He defined 5 main needs: physiological, safety and security, social, esteem, and self-actualization. And he built this pyramid, and he divided all the needs into 2 levels, into primary and into secondary. And he states that he stated that it is possible to motivate a person with higher level needs only if the previous needs are satisfied. Very interesting theory was provided by Herzberg. He divided all the factors into hidden factors and into motivators. And the main idea of Herzberg was that it is not possible to provide a person with hidden factors, but absence of these factors can lead to dissatisfaction. Okay, an example. you are a manager, and after successful graduating from our university, you are looking for the first position. And during the interview, your future boss will say, okay, you will have the working place with a personal computer. And when it is winter, it is rather warm. It is normal atmosphere in our office. And listen to me carefully. You will have a salary every month. And you will laugh maybe at these phrases, because as far as you're looking for the position of manager, it is obvious for you that you have to have a computer, personal computer at your working place, and when it is winter, the office must be heated, yes, and the salary must be provided every month. But if something wrong with the factors, it will lead to your dissatisfaction. But said that to motivate, you have to use the second group of factors, motivators. And he provided some examples of these factors. And the third theory was provided by McClelland. He stated that as far as our society, in modern society, we don't have to think about some primary needs, and we have to think about only secondary needs, and generally these needs are close to the needs, to the definition of Abraham Maslow, but he a little bit he was a little bit different with the needs. He defined the needs of achievement, of power, and of affiliation. So these three theories of motivating speak only about the needs to be satisfied during the working process, during the results maybe of the working process. And the second group of theories of motivating is connected with process theories, and the first theory is expectancy theory. Expectancy theory says that we have to understand not only valuability of the reward for our subordinate, but the subordinate must be sure that if he or she invest his effort, it is theoretically possible to achieve the result. So the task is attainable. And he or she also must be sure that if he attain the result, the reward will be provided. And the formula of motivate according to expectancy theory is the following: that motivation is the multiplication of three components, effort, performance. So theoretically, it is possible to get this result. We must be not we, but our subordinates must be sure that the reward will be provided, and this reward must be valuable for the subordinate. Actually, Vroom, the author of this theory, he used the word valence Actually, this word is closer to chemistry, but you can use just reliability. And what is, I'm stressing that there are two signs of multiplication. And why, what does it mean, this multiplication? You know that if we have some formula with multiplication, and if any part of this formula is equal to 0, the result will be equal to 0 independently of any other factors. For example, it is not clear for the subordinate that theoretically it is possible to, even theoretically it is possible to attain this result. Yes, maybe he or she has no doubts that the reward will be provided, and he or she does want to have this reward. But if he or she thinks that the objective is not achievable, he will not work. Or maybe he or she understands that theoretically it is possible to get this result, and this reward is valuable. But he or she has a lot of doubts that the reward will be provided. Also, the motivation, it will be equal to 0. Or the third situation, that theoretically it is possible to achieve this result, then the outcome, the reward will be provided, but the valuability of this reward is too low. He or she doesn't want to have it. So also motivation will be equal to 0. So this is the short explanation of room expectancy theory. So I'm stressing that all the previous, all the content theories of motivation, sorry, they are here. They are here in valence in the third component of the expectancy theory. But the expectancy theory states that, or Vroom states that, we have to take into account more than only valuability of the reward. And the next theory goes even further. The equity theory states that it is completely right, but in addition, every person will compare the reward provided to him with a reward provided to the co-workers, and if the result is similar, and the effort is similar and payment is not equal, so this person will try to get bigger salary, or he or she will decrease the effort. The fourth function of management is controlling. Controlling, according to definition, is the process of ensuring that the organization is attaining its objectives. And when we speak about controlling, usually in mind we have that we have to use this function only when we have some result. No. The post-action control is controlling is only 1/3 of the controlling function. We have to check the, for example, our raw material. This is the part of preliminary controlling, and we have to use concurrent controlling. This is the type of controlling which must be used in parallel with the activity, when activity is being performed. So some part of controlling must be used before the beginning of the activity, some part of controlling must be performed in parallel with activity, and some parts of control must be used after the work is done or the time is left. And the last type of part of our lecture is connected with two very important processes in management: decision making and communicating. So, decision making, according to the definition, decision making is the process of making a choice between a number of options, between some alternatives. Types of objectives could be following. We can divide all the objectives into individual and group objectives. By level of justification, we can divide it into intuitive, judgmental, and rational. And by scale, we can divide all the decisions into strategic, tactical, and operational. Just to explain, it is clear, but still, group decision is made by several people, and it is quite difficult to connect and to have one choice if we have a lot of people to be involved into this decision. And also one additional information to this category: judgmental decisions are based at the previous experience, and rational decision is based at the analysis of the information. So it is better to use rational decisions, but in any situation you can use all these three types of decision, and usually why managers had to use not only rational but also intuitive and judgmental decision is because we don't have the information. Okay, I said you that it is possible to use in one situation the three types of decisions. Okay, intuitive, to use your intuition. Okay, I'm thinking what clothes should I put on before leaving my house. Okay, I like this t-shirt. And I decided to put on this t-shirt, this very t-shirt. Judgmental. Okay, yesterday I put on this t-shirt and it was completely okay. It was not very hot and it was not cold. So generally it was completely okay for the weather yesterday. That's why I decided to put on this t-shirt today. And rational, I'm using weather forecast, I'm checking the weather, I'm checking the temperature, and maybe if it is colder now compared with yesterday, I will put not only the t-shirt but also maybe some jacket or some etc. And generally the best way, the best type of decisions are rational decisions, but it's not possible to use this type of decisions in all the situations because managers don't always have the information about the process. Rational decision-making process has the following 8 steps. First of all, we have to identify the problem, what should be done. Then we have to identify the criteria of our decision. Then we have to understand the weight of every criteria. And then we have to develop alternatives. So generally, what ways for further activities can be chosen. Then we have to analyze the alternatives. Then we have to choose or select some alternatives. Then we have to implement our decision, and then we have to evaluate results of our decisions. When you are a manager, you have to influence others, and generally there are 5 main types of influence, 5 main types of power. Coercive power, so you can say that you have to do it, if not, you will be punished. Reward power, you will say that if you have this result, you will be provided by some reward. Legitimate power, it means that it is possible for you to say you have to do it just because you are manager and the next person is your subordinate. You can use expert power. You can explain how it is important for your organization to do it, and you can use your charisma. You can use referent power, and generally, as you can see, the first type of power is connected with the position at the company. So when manager has some position, these 3 types of power are inbuilt into this position. He or she, this manager, can usually can punish the subordinates, provide them some reward, and if he is a manager, so it is possible to manage the subordinates. But these types of power are not connected with a manager, but they are this is a position, but they are connected with the personal characteristics of a manager. And the last but not least part of our review is the process of communicating. The communicating is transmitting some information from one person to another. So in management, all the decisions must be communicated, and the process of communicating is presented at this picture. So manager has some idea, and generally these men marked with black, generally he couldn't be not only a manager but just a group member who has a need to transmit some information. Okay, so he or she has to encode this information. He can use some channel, and then the receiver of the message also has to decode it, and at the basis of the information, he or she has to perform some activity. And there are some noises. So the noise is anything that distorts meaning of the information. Generally, the main barriers of communication are connected with physical environmental barriers. For example, you are communicating with a person in the United States and you are situated in the Ukraine. You have a very small period of time, which is convenient for two parts of the communication process. Then it could be barriers connected with the wrong medium. For example, you decided to choose Microsoft Teams and the computer of your opponent cannot use this software, for example. It could be some semantic barriers. We will speak about these barriers in 2 minutes. It could be cultural barriers. Also, we will speak in 2 minutes. I will explain with this picture. It could be some physiological or psychological barriers. For example, if somebody has a bad mood, so it's not a good time for communication. And it could be barriers caused by varying perception of reality. And if speaking about, I'd like to speak a little bit more about semantic barriers. Semantic barriers of communication are the symbol, is the fact that we understand the same things, but we understand it in the different meanings. So you see that at this very picture, everybody looks at these symbol and keeps in mind different things. He, for example, first keeps that it's just some symbol. This keeps in mind that it is 8. He thinks that it is infinity. He thinks that it is wave. He thinks that it is a pretzel. Pretzel, you know, it is for beer, some bread for beer. And he thinks that it is the picture of DNA. So when using the communication process, you have to use the terms which is clear for everybody. And also you have to understand that if you are communicating with different cultures, you have to understand that the same things are different in different cultures. Okay. Thank you for listening to this short review. Generally, this short review is definitely not enough to understand everything within management, but I tried to pay attention to all parts of our management course. And if you don't understand something in this presentation, you can write at the comments to this video, and I will definitely answer to your question. Thank you for watching. See you. Bye-bye.